Please, please, won't someone play with me? The voice hit me like a fist to the chest. Small, desperate, breaking at the edges. I froze on the park bench, coffee halfway to my lips, scanning the Saturday morning crowd in Riverside Park. Families everywhere. Joggers, dog walkers, the usual Greenwich, Connecticut weekend chaos. But no one was looking at the kid sitting alone on the swing set, his small hands gripping the chain so tight his knuckles had gone white. No one except me, because I was the only one who could hear him. My name's Ash Brennan, and I've spent 23 years pretending I'm normal. Normal Omega. Normal barista at some overpriced cafe where alphas in $1,000 suits order oat milk lattes and don't bother learning my name. Normal college dropout trying to figure out what the hell to do with a life that's felt like static since the day I presented. Normal, except for the voices. Telepathy sounds cool in movies. In real life, it's a migraine factory and a one-way ticket to a psychiatric ward if anyone finds out. So I don't tell anyone. I've gotten good at tuning it out, building mental walls thick enough to keep other people's thoughts from bleeding into mine. But this kid's voice had punched straight through. Please. I lowered my coffee and really looked at him. Maybe 6 years old, dark curls falling into his face, expensive clothes, the kind of casual that costs more than my rent, and eyes that were too old, too tired, scanning the playground like he was searching for something he'd already given up on finding. He wasn't crying, and that somehow made it worse. A woman in yoga pants pushed a toddler on the swing next to him, laughing into her phone. A dad jogged past with a golden retriever. 3 kids his age screamed and chased each other near the slide, close enough to touch but a universe away. And the boy just sat there, alone, silent, swinging slowly, like maybe if he moved carefully enough, someone would finally see him. My chest tightened. Don't get involved, I told myself. You've got enough problems without adopting some rich kid's loneliness. Then his head turned. Our eyes met, and I felt it. The moment he realized I was actually looking at him, not through him, not past him, at him. His lips parted in shock. His whole body went still. You can hear me? The thought trembled between us, fragile and disbelieving. I should have looked away. We should have built my walls back up and gotten the hell out of there before this turned into something complicated. Instead, I did the dumbest thing possible. I stood up, walked over, and crouched down in front of his swing, meeting those wide, hopeful eyes. Hey, I said softly. Then because I'm apparently incapable of minding my own business, I signed it too. The only ASL I remembered from a semester of community college before I dropped out. Hey, his whole face transformed. Not a smile, not yet, but something close. Something that looked like the sun breaking through clouds after weeks of rain. He signed back, fingers flying faster than I could follow. I caught maybe 1 word in 5, but it didn't matter. What mattered was the way his shoulders had straightened, the way color was coming back into his cheeks, not the way he was alive in a way he hadn't been 30 seconds ago. Whoa, slow down, I laughed, holding up my hands. My ASL is terrible, like criminally bad. But we can figure it out, yeah? He nodded so hard I worried about whiplash. What's your name, I thought, projecting it gently toward him. His eyes went impossibly wider. Then he grinned, actually grinned, and signed something that looked like an L. Leo, I guessed? Another enthusiastic nod. Cool, I'm Ash. I tapped my chest, then finger-spelled it slowly. Probably butchered half the letters. He didn't care. He was already signing again, asking me questions I couldn't understand, his mental voice bubbling with excitement. You can really hear me? In your head? Are you magic? Can you fly too? Do you? One thing at a time, buddy, I said, but I was smiling. Couldn't help it. His joy was infectious. That's when I felt it, the weight of a stare. I glanced up and my heart stuttered. 2 men stood near the park entrance, both watching us with identical expressions of shock. Tall, gorgeous in that unattainable magazine cover way that made my Omega hindbrain sit up and take embarrassing notice. Matching wedding bands, power tailored into every line of their designer suits, even on a Saturday morning. The scent hit me half a second later. Cedar and smoke, winter frost, and something darker, richer. Alpha. Both of them. And not just any alphas. Oh, fuck. I knew those faces. Everyone in Greenwich did. Dominic and Julian Rivera, tech moguls, billionaires. The kind of alphas who owned half the state and made headlines every time they breathed. And apparently Leo's parents, who were currently staring at me like I'd just performed a miracle. Leo's hand grabbed mine, his mental voice urgent. Don't go. Please don't go. Everyone always goes. My throat tightened. The alphas started walking toward us, moving like wolves, smooth, predatory, intent locked entirely on me. I should have run. Instead, I squeezed Leo's hand and stayed exactly where I was. Not going anywhere, I murmured. His smile could have powered the whole damn city. Behind him, the alphas were close enough now that I could see the storm brewing in their eyes. Confusion, hope, something that looked dangerously close to hunger. This was going to get complicated. I was so screwed. Leo's hand tightened around mine, like I was the only solid thing in his world, which apparently I was. His mental voice kept looping the same thought. He stayed. He actually stayed. Great. Now I had a 6-year-old emotionally attached to me and 2 billionaire alphas closing in, like I'd just stolen their most precious possession. Technically, I was holding his hand, so maybe not the worst assumption. Leo, the taller one, spoke first. His voice was granite smoothed by expensive scotch, deep enough that I felt it in my bones. The kid's grip went vice tight. I looked up, met dark eyes that reminded me of midnight oceans, cold and fathomless, and currently trying to figure out if I was a threat or a solution. This had to be Dominic, the CEO, the one Forbes called the Ice King of Tech. Yeah, I could see it. His husband stopped beside him. And if Dominic was winter frost, this one was controlled wildfire. Copper brown eyes that missed nothing, jaw sharp enough to cut glass. Julian Rivera, the strategist, the one who smiled for cameras while quietly destroying competitors. Neither of them was smiling now. Who are you? Julian asked. Not rude, not kind, just assessing. I stood up slowly, keeping Leo's hand in mine because the kid looked 2 seconds from bolting. Ash Brennan, and before you call security, I wasn't doing anything weird. We were just talking. Talking. Dominic's gaze dropped to our joined hands. Something flickered across his face. Leo doesn't talk. Well, not out loud, I said, but he's got plenty to say if you know how to listen. The words came out sharper than intended. But seriously, how did you miss your own kid screaming for attention in his head? Then again, they couldn't hear him. Nobody could, except me. Julian's eyes narrowed. You know sign language. Like 3 words, Max. We're mostly winging it. I glanced down at Leo, who was watching his parents with an expression that made my chest ache. Hope mixed with fear, like he'd been disappointed too many times to trust this moment. But he's a good teacher. Leo! Dominic crouched down, bringing himself eye level with his son. His scent rolled over me like a winter storm. Clean, cold, expensive, and underneath it, something that made my Omega instincts purr in a way I absolutely hated. Are you all right? Leo nodded, then signed something quick. Dominic's jaw tightened. He looked at me. What did he say? Oh, they didn't know sign language. Their own kid, and they didn't. I swallowed the anger. Not my circus, not my monkeys. You want me to translate? Please, Julian said. And the single word carried weight I didn't understand yet. Leo signed again, slower this time. His mental voice whispered along with it. Tell them you heard me. He said, I paused, choosing words carefully. He said I'm the first person who heard him asking someone to play. Silence, the kind that pressed against your ears, made the whole park feel too loud and too quiet at once. Dominic stood. His scent shifted. Not angry, worse, hurt, and alphas in pain were dangerous in ways that had nothing to do with violence. How long were you sitting alone? Julian asked Leo, his voice carefully controlled. Leo held up fingers. Too many. Jesus Christ. Julian scrubbed a hand over his face, looked at Dominic. Some silent conversation happened between them, the kind married people have with just eye contact. And then they both looked at me. We need to talk, Dominic said. I'm good, thanks. I started to step back. Leo's hand yanked me forward. No, don't leave, please. His mental voice cracked on the last word. Damn it. Leo, buddy, I'm not... I sighed, crouched back down. Your dads want to talk to you. That's good. That's what you wanted, right? I want you to stay. His eyes were too big, too scared. Everyone leaves when they find out I'm broken. My heart twisted. You're not broken. I said it out loud without thinking. All three Riveras stared at me. He thinks he's broken, I explained, because apparently I had zero self-preservation, because people ignore him, but he's not. He's just different. You can hear his thoughts. It wasn't a question. Julian studied me like I was the equation he needed to solve. You're telepathic. Well, shit. I don't know what you're talking about. The lie tasted like ash on my tongue. Appropriate, given my name. Your scent changed when Leo grabbed your hand. Dominic stepped closer. Too close. Close enough that I could feel the heat radiating off him. Went from coffee and rain to something sweeter. Comforting. You were responding to his distress. That's just regular Omega stuff, I said, but my voice sounded thin. No. Julian moved to my other side. I was bracketed now, surrounded by cedar and smoke and winter. My hindbrain was doing cartwheels. My frontal lobe was screaming. Regular Omegas can't hear thoughts, can't communicate telepathically with a deaf child they just met. Leo was watching this play out with bright eyes, his mental voice practically vibrating with excitement. They're not scared of you. They want you to stay too. I should go, I said, meant it, even as everything in me was screaming to stay. Don't. Dominic's hand caught my wrist. Not hard. Gentle enough that I could break away if I wanted. I didn't want to. God help me, I didn't want to. His thumb pressed against my pulse point. His eyes widened slightly. Your heart is racing. Because two alphas are cornering me in a park, I shot back. Forgive me for being nervous. You're not nervous. Julian's voice dropped lower. Intimate. You're terrified, but not of us. No, I was terrified of how right this felt, how their sense wrapped around me like a blanket, how Leo's happiness was bleeding into my chest and making a home there, and how I wanted to lean into Dominic's touch instead of pulling away. This was a disaster waiting to happen. Let me go, I whispered. Dominic's grip loosened immediately, but he didn't step back. Neither did Julian. Have dinner with us, Julian said. I laughed. Couldn't help it. You're insane. You're the first person our son has connected with in 6 years, Dominic said quietly. Please. That word, coming from an alpha who probably never said it. Leo's hand squeezed mine. Please, Ash. I looked at the kid, at his hopeful face, at parents who smelled like home and danger in an equal measure. One dinner, I heard myself say. That's it. Leo's joy exploded through my mind like fireworks. The alpha smiled, and I realized with creeping horror that I'd just made the worst decision of my life, or maybe the best. Son, I couldn't tell anymore. We should exchange numbers. Julian pulled out his phone like this was a normal Saturday transaction and not the beginning of whatever fresh hell I just signed up for. Right. Numbers. Because that's a totally reasonable thing to give to strangers. I didn't move. Leo was still attached to my hand like a barnacle, a very happy barnacle whose thoughts were currently a loop of friend. We're not strangers anymore, Dominic said. His voice had warmed exactly half a degree, which for Ice King apparently qualified as downright friendly. You know our son. We're about to feed you. That's practically family. I choked on air. That's definitely not what that means. You're right. Julian's mouth curved. Not quite a smile. Something more dangerous. Family implies obligation. This is choice. Is it though? I gestured vaguely at Leo, who was now swinging our joined hands like he'd won the lottery. Because your kid is doing emotional hostage negotiation and he's really good at it. I'm not. Leo's mental voice was pure innocence. I just really like you. Liar, I muttered, then louder to the alphas who were watching this one-sided conversation with unnerving focus. He says he really likes me, but he's definitely manipulating me. He's 6, Dominic said. Have you met 6-year-olds? They're tiny sociopaths. Leo giggled, actually giggled. The sound was rough, unused, like he didn't do it often enough. It hit me square in the chest. Damn it. Julian held out his phone. Your number, Ash. The way he said my name, low, deliberate, like he was tasting it. And I snatched the phone before I could think better of it. Typed in my number with one hand because Leo still wouldn't let go. This doesn't mean anything. Of course not, Julian agreed. Too easily. My phone buzzed immediately. A text from an unknown number. Dominic. And yes, it does. I glared up at the alpha in question. He had the audacity to look amused. Barely. Just a slight softening around his eyes. You're annoying, I informed him. You have no idea, Julian said. Was that fondness? These two were weird, another buzz. Julian, dinner is at 7. We'll send a car. I can take the bus, I said automatically. Both alphas looked at me like I'd suggested showing up on a unicycle. You're not taking the bus, Dominic said. It's Greenwich. Everyone takes the bus. Well, everyone who's not a billionaire. You're having dinner with billionaires, Julian pointed out. New rules apply. I didn't agree to new rules. I agreed to one dinner. With Leo. I looked down at the kid. Just Leo. You two can drop him off and leave. Leo's face fell. His hand went slack in mine. You don't want them there? Oh no, not the sad eyes, not the crushing disappointment radiating through our connection. That's not what I meant, I backpedaled. I just thought you'd want time with your dads, without some random Omega third-wheeling. But you're not random. You're Ash. He signed something that I was pretty sure meant special based on context and the way his whole face lit up. We want you there, Dominic said quietly. All of us. The all of us hit different. I made it sound like I was being invited into something instead of just tolerated for the kid's sake. I hated how much I wanted that to be true. Fine. 7. One dinner. I pulled my hand free from Leo's. Immediately felt the loss like a physical ache. But I'm warning you, I have terrible table manners and I will steal food off your plates. Noted, Julian said. His scent shifted. Warmer? Pleased. Stop smelling them, I ordered my traitorous hindbrain. They're just alphas. You've met alphas before. These ones just happen to smell like Christmas morning and bad decisions. What's bad decisions smell like? Leo asked innocently. I'd forgotten he could hear me. Fuck. Like cedar and smoke, I answered before I could stop myself. Both alphas went very still. You can smell us, Dominic said. Statement, not question. Everyone can smell everyone. It's kind of how this works. I waved vaguely at the general concept of designations. Not like that. Julian stepped closer. I stepped back, hit the swing set. He stopped, holding up both hands in surrender. You're not scared. I'm terrified, actually. But not of us. He tilted his head, studying me. Of yourself. I hated how right he was. This is a bad idea, I said. To them. To me. To the universe in general. Probably, Dominic agreed. Definitely, Julian added. But you're still coming to dinner, Dominic finished. Because Leo asked nicely, I clarified. Not because you two are... whatever this is. Whatever this is, Julian repeated softly. His eyes tracked over my face, lingering on my mouth. Interesting phrasing. Heat crawled up my neck. Don't. Don't what? Look at me like that. Like what? His voice dropped, intimate. Like you're trying to figure out if I fit. The words escaped before I could trap them. I don't. Whatever you think this is, whatever you're looking for, I'm not it. Silence. Leo's confusion pressed against my mind. Dominic and Julian exchanged another one of those married people looks. "You don't know what we're looking for," Dominic said finally. "I can guess, and I'm not interested in being some exotic addition to your perfect billionaire life. I'm a broke college dropout who hears voices and works at a coffee shop. We don't fit in the same universe, let alone the same dinner table." "And yet," Julian gestured between us, "here we are." "Here we are," I echoed bitterly, "for one dinner. And then I go back to my universe and you go back to yours." "No." Leo's mental voice cracked like thunder. His little face crumpled. "You promised you wouldn't leave." "I promised I wouldn't leave the park," I corrected gently. "But Leo, sweetheart, I have my own life. You have yours. This was just a nice coincidence." "You're lying." His eyes were too knowing, too hurt. "You feel it too." "I can hear you feeling it." Shit, of course he could. Telepathy went both ways. "What does he hear?" Dominic asked sharply. I looked at Leo, at his tear-bright eyes, at the hope and betrayal warring on his face. Then I looked at his parents, at two alphas who smelled like everything I'd ever wanted and knew I couldn't have. "He hears me wanting to stay," I admitted. The truth tasted like copper. "And that's exactly why I need to leave." I turned. We'd made it 3 steps. Dominic's voice stopped me cold. "What are you afraid of, Ash?" "Everything. Nothing. The way you're sent makes me forget why this is a bad idea. The way your son already has pieces of my heart I didn't know I could give away. The way one dinner will turn into 2, then 10, then a lifetime of wanting things I can't keep. I'm afraid you'll break him when you get bored," I said instead. Half-truth. Easier than the whole one. "We won't get bored," Julian said. "Everyone does." "Not of you," I laughed. Sharp, broken. "You don't even know me." "Then let us." God, they made it sound so simple. My phone buzzed. Dominic's text. 6:30. "The car will wait if you're late. Please come." That please again. I was so screwed. 6:30, I said without turning around. "One dinner. Then we figure out what this actually is." Behind me, Leo's joy burst like sunrise. The alpha's sense wrapped around me like a promise. And I walked away before I could do something stupid, like stay. I made it to the park gate before I heard the footsteps behind me. Small, quick, determined. "Ash, wait." I spun around. Leo was running toward me, his face flushed, sneakers slapping against the pavement. Behind him, both alphas were moving fast, their expressions caught between alarm and something that looked like panic. "Leo, stop!" I called out. He didn't stop. Of course he didn't stop. 6-year-olds had one speed, chaos. What happened next felt like slow motion and fast forward at the same time. Leo's shoe caught on a crack in the sidewalk. His arms windmilled. His eyes went wide. I moved without thinking. Telepathy had perks beyond reading minds. Enhanced reflexes was one of them. I caught him mid-fall, his small body colliding with my chest hard enough to knock the breath out of both of us. We went down together. I twisted at the last second, taking the impact on my shoulder instead of letting him hit concrete. Pain shot through my arm. Leo's mental scream of fear cut off abruptly, replaced by shocked silence. Then, "You saved me." "Yeah, well," I winced, sitting up slowly. "Couldn't let you crack your head open. Your dads would probably sue me." "Are you hurt?" Dominic was there in seconds, dropping to his knees beside us. His hands hovered over me, not quite touching, like he wasn't sure he had permission. "I'm fine." I wasn't fine. My shoulder was screaming, and I definitely scraped my palms on the pavement. But Leo was okay. That's what mattered. Julian scooped Leo up, holding him close while simultaneously checking for injuries. "What were you thinking? You can't just run off like that." Leo's lip trembled. He signed something quick and desperate. "He says he thought I was leaving forever," I translated quietly. "And he couldn't let me go without saying goodbye properly." The look Dominic gave me could have melted steel. "You're bleeding." "It's just a scrape." "It's not just anything." His voice had gone cold. "Alpha command bleeding through." "Let me see." I held out my hands. Both palms were torn up, blood welling in thin lines across the skin. Not serious, but Dominic looked at them like I'd been mortally wounded. "We're taking you to the house," he said. Not a question, not a request. "No, no," I said, "I'm fine." And I said, "We're taking you to the house." His eyes met mine, all frost and fire. "You just threw yourself in front of a moving child for us. The least we can do is clean your wounds and make sure you don't have a concussion." "I don't have a concussion. Humor me." Julian was already typing on his phone with one hand, Leo still clinging to him with the other. "Car's 2 minutes out. I can walk home. With bleeding hands and a shoulder you're not moving correctly?" Julian looked up. "Try again." Damn alphas and their observational skills. "Please come home with us," Leo thought at me. His mental voice was small again. Scared. "I'm sorry I made you fall. I'm sorry I'm always messing things up. That right there. That's what got me." "You didn't mess anything up," I said softly. Reached up with one scraped hand to ruffle his hair. "You were just scared. I get it." He leaned into the touch like he was starving for it. A sleek black car pulled up to the curb. Because of course it did. Because these people didn't do anything halfway. "This is ridiculous," I muttered. "This is happening," Dominic countered. He stood, then offered me his hand. I looked at it, at his outstretched palm, at the clear invitation. Taking his hand meant accepting help, accepting care, accepting that maybe, just maybe, I didn't have to do everything alone. I hated how much I wanted to take it. "If I get blood on your fancy car, I'm not paying for it," I said. His mouth twitched, almost a smile. "Noted." I let him pull me up. His hand was warm, strong, steady in a way that made my chest ache. The car ride was quiet. Leo sat between his parents, but his eyes never left me. His thoughts were a constant hum of worry and guilt, and something that felt dangerously close to attachment. "I really am sorry," he kept thinking. "I didn't mean for you to get hurt." "I know, buddy. It's okay." "Is it, though? You're bleeding because of me. I've had worse." That made him pause. His head tilted. "What's worse than bleeding?" I didn't answer that one. The Rivera house wasn't a house. It was an estate, rolling lawns, stone architecture that belonged in European tourism ads. Gates that probably cost more than I'd make in 5 years. "You live here," I said flatly. "Technically, we live in a penthouse in the city during the week," Julian said. "This is the weekend house." "Of course it is. Sadar, why have one obscenely expensive house when you can have two?" Dominic's lips quirked again. Definitely almost a smile now. Inside was worse. All clean lines and expensive art in spaces so open I could probably hear my own echo. A woman in her 50s appeared immediately, took one look at my hands and started firing off instructions in rapid Spanish. "That's Carmen," Julian said. "She's going to murder us for letting you get hurt." "I didn't let him do anything," Dominic said. "He made his own terrible decisions." "Hey," I protested. "Saving your kid was not a terrible decision. Throwing yourself at concrete was." "I didn't throw myself. I caught him. There's a difference." "Tell that to your shoulder." Carmen returned with a first aid kit that looked like it could handle field surgery. She sat me down at a kitchen island that was bigger than my entire apartment and started cleaning my palms with efficient, gentle hands. She said something in Spanish. Julian answered. She gave him a look that could have curdled milk, then turned to me and said in perfect English, "These two are idiots. You tell me if they bother you." I liked her immediately. "Noted," I said. Leo climbed onto the stool next to me, watching Carmen work with solemn eyes. His hand crept across the counter, stopped just short of touching mine. I turned my hand over, palm up, an invitation, his small fingers laced through mine. Dominic and Julian stood on the other side of the island, close enough to touch but careful not to crowd. Their scents filled the space, cedar and smoke and winter, wrapping around me like I belonged here, like this was normal, like I could stay. The thought terrified me. Carmen finished bandaging my hands, moved to my shoulder, which was already bruising. I hissed when she pressed against it. Both alphas tensed. "It's fine," I said quickly. "It's not fine," Dominic said. "It's a bruise. I'll survive." You shouldn't have to just survive, Julian said quietly. I looked up, met his eyes, saw something there that made my breath catch. Want, raw and honest and patient. Dinner, I said. My voice came out rough. You promised me dinner. We did, Dominic agreed. Leo squeezed my hand. You're staying? For now, I thought back. Just for now. But even I didn't believe that anymore. Carmen finished with my shoulder and patted my cheek like I was one of her own. You rest. I make you real food. She not whatever expensive nonsense these two usually eat. We eat normal food, Julian protested. She gave him a look that said otherwise and disappeared into what I assumed was a walk-in pantry the size of my bedroom. Leo was still holding my hand. His thoughts had quieted to a gentle hum of contentment. Safe. He felt safe. When was the last time this kid felt safe? How long has he been deaf? I asked. The question came out before I could stop it. The temperature in the room dropped 10 degrees. Dominic's jaw tightened. Julian looked away. Wrong question. Definitely wrong question. I'm sorry, and I started. That's none of my business. He wasn't born deaf, Dominic said quietly. His knuckles were white where he gripped the counter edge. He was 4 when it happened. Leo's hand squeezed mine. Not upset, just acknowledging. I got sick, he thought at me. Simple. Matter of fact. Really, really sick. The doctors saved me, but my ears stopped working. Meningitis, I realized. Had to be. Bacterial meningitis could cause hearing loss in survivors. I'd read about it once, back when I still thought I might finish college. We tried everything, Julian said. His voice was rough, raw in a way that made my chest tight. Cochlear implants, experimental treatments, the best specialists in the world. Nothing worked. So you learned sign language, and I said. Except they hadn't. That was obvious. The silence that followed was damning. We tried, Dominic said finally. We hired tutors, bought programs, but work kept getting in the way. Board meetings, acquisitions, international deals that couldn't wait. There was always something more important, I said. Not a question. Yes. The single word from Julian carried more guilt than a confession. Leo's thoughts pressed against mine. Not angry, just resigned. They're really busy, important people. I understand. No 6-year-old should sound that understanding. That used to being an afterthought. That's bullshit, I said. Both alphas stared at me. Excuse me? Dominic's voice went ice cold. You heard me. That's complete bullshit. I was apparently committed to this kamikaze mission now. You learned entire coding languages to build your company, mastered international business law, probably speak what, 3 languages each? 4, Julian said faintly. 4, perfect. So you can negotiate deals in Mandarin, but you can't learn basic ASL to talk to your own son? You don't understand, Dominic started. No, I really don't. My voice was shaking now, anger bleeding through. Because the kid I met today, he thought he was broken. He thought people ignored him because something was wrong with him. Not because the people who were supposed to love him couldn't be bothered to meet him halfway. Leo's hand went slack in mine, his mental voice barely a whisper. Ash, stop. But I couldn't stop, not now. Do you know what he was thinking when I found him? Please play with me. That's it. That's all he wanted. Someone to see him. And you two were probably in some meeting somewhere, making millions while your kid sat alone on a swing, begging strangers to notice he existed. That's enough. Dominic's alpha voice rolled out. Command thick enough to make my omega instincts scream at me to submit. I stood up anyway. No, it's not nearly enough. You think we don't know we failed him? Julian's composure cracked, voice breaking. You think we don't see it every single day? The way he looks at us like he's waiting for us to finally love him enough to try? Oh no. We're not good fathers, Dominic said. Flat, factual, devastating. We know that. We've known it since the day we brought him home from the hospital and realized we had no idea how to reach him anymore. How to make him feel safe when we couldn't even talk to him. They tried, Leo thought desperately. They really did try. Trying isn't the same as doing, I said. Softer now. You don't get points for effort when your kid still feels invisible. Then teach us. Julian's eyes met mine. Desperate, raw. You reached him in 20 minutes. We've had 6 years and we're still failing. So teach us, I laughed, sharp, bitter. I'm not a miracle worker. No, Dominic said. You're something better. You're someone he trusts. You don't even know me. For all you know, I'm a terrible person. Are you? Julian asked. Was I? I dropped out of college because the voices in my head got too loud. Bounced between jobs because staying in one place too long meant people started asking questions. Kept everyone at arm's length because letting them close meant they'd eventually see the freak underneath. I'm not a good person, I said finally. Why not? Dominic asked. Because good people don't hear voices, don't read minds without permission, don't invade people's privacy just by existing near them. There, the truth, ugly and honest. Leo's thoughts burst through, indignant. You're not bad. You're the best person I've ever met. I've known you for an hour, I told him. So? You stayed. You listened. You didn't treat me like I was broken. His mental voice cracked. That makes you better than almost everyone? Almost everyone has a pretty low bar, I muttered. He's not wrong, though, Julian said quietly. You did stay, even when it would have been easier to walk away. I'm still going to walk away, I said, but it sounded hollow even to me. Are you? Dominic moved closer, not touching, just there, solid. Because from where I'm standing, it looks like you're trying to convince yourself you don't care, and failing spectacularly. I don't care, I lied. Liar. His voice dropped. Intimate. Your scent gives you away. It's gone sweet. Protective. You smell like an Omega who just found something worth keeping. Stop scenting me. Can't help it. You're broadcasting. I hated that he was right. Hated that my stupid Omega biology was betraying me. Hated that these two broken alphas and their lonely kid were worming their way past every defense I had. Carmen returned with a tray of empanadas, took one look at the tension in the room and sighed. You're all idiots. Eat. Talk later. Leo grabbed an empanada and bit into it with enthusiasm. Crumbs went everywhere, his eyes lit up. These are so good. Try one, Ash. I took one. It was still warm, flaky, perfect. Exactly what I needed. We want you in his life, Julian said suddenly. However, you'll let us have you. Tutor, friend, whatever you're comfortable with. Why? I asked around a mouthful of empanada. Why me? Because he chose you, Dominic said simply, and maybe we should have been choosing him all along. The honesty in those words hit like a fist. Leo looked between his parents and me, hope written all over his face. I was so screwed. 1 week, I heard myself say. I'll come by after work, teach you basic signs, help Leo practice his telepathy control. You're staying. Leo's joy exploded through our connection. 1 week, I repeated. Then we reevaluate. 1 week, Dominic agreed. Julian smiled, small, genuine. We'll take it. And just like that, I'd committed to the second worst decision of my day. The first was still accepting that dinner invitation. Carmen set the table like she was preparing for royalty, which technically, I guess she was. Billionaires qualified as financial royalty at minimum. She kept shooting pointed looks at Dominic and Julian, muttering things in Spanish that made Leo giggle silently. She's saying they're useless in the kitchen, he translated for me, and that she's surprised they managed to find someone as pretty as you. I choked on my water. She did not say that. Okay, maybe I added the pretty part. His grin was pure mischief. But I'm not wrong. You're 6. You're not allowed to have opinions on pretty. I'm 6, not blind. Dominic was watching this one-sided exchange with that almost smile again. What's he saying? That Carmen thinks you're useless and I'm pretty. In that order. Julian laughed. Actually laughed. The sound was rich and warm and did absolutely unfair things to my pulse. Carmen's not wrong on either count. Stop flirting with the help, I said. Warren, you're not the help, Dominic said. His voice had gone serious. You're a guest, an important one. I'm a charity case you're feeding because your kid tackled me. You're the person who saved our son, Julian corrected quietly. Twice now. Once from falling, once from thinking he was broken. Well, when he put it like that, dinner was surreal. We sat at a table that could seat 12. Just the four of us clustered at one end, like we were trying to pretend this was normal. Carmen brought out course after course. Empanadas gave way to arroz con pollo, then plantains, then some kind of chocolate cake that should have been illegal. Leo sat next to me, his leg pressed against mine under the table. Every few minutes he'd think something at me and I'd respond, and his parents would watch like they were witnessing a miracle. Which, for them, maybe they were. Teach me something, Dominic said suddenly. I looked up from my cake. What? In sign language. Teach me something I can say to Leo right now. Oh, my throat went tight. You want to learn from me? I told you I barely know 3 words. Then teach me one of those 3, he said. His eyes were steady on mine. Determined. Please. There it was again. That word. From an alpha who probably gave orders more than he asked for anything. I set down my fork. Okay, here. I made the sign for I love you. The classic one. Thumb, index, and pinky extended. This one's easy. It's probably the most important one anyway. Dominic copied the gesture. His hands were bigger than mine, scarred along the knuckles from what looked like years of typing. But he got the shape right. Now you, I said to Julian. He mirrored it perfectly. Of course he did. Good. Now do it to him. I nodded toward Leo, who was watching with wide, hopeful eyes. Both alphas turned to their son, made the sign. Leo's face crumpled, not in sadness, in overwhelming, devastating joy. He signed something back, fingers flying. What did he say? Dominic asked. His voice was rough. I had to swallow twice before I could speak. He said he loves you too, and that he's been waiting his whole life for you to say it like that. The silence that followed could have shattered glass. Julian stood abruptly, walked around the table, pulled Leo into his arms and just held him. His shoulders shook. Leo buried his face in his father's neck. He's crying. Why is he crying? Because he loves you, I thought back. And sometimes love hurts. Dominic wasn't crying, but his eyes were bright, suspiciously bright. Thank you, he said to me, low, intense. I didn't do anything. You did everything. Carmen chose that moment to clear plates, her own eyes misty. She said something soft in Spanish. Julian nodded against Leo's hair. What did she say? I asked Leo silently. That it's about time this family started acting like one. Yeah, that tracked. Leo eventually wiggled free, signing something to his fathers that made them both smile. Then he turned to me, his little hand reaching out. Will you read me a story? Before bed. Leo, Julian started. Ash has been here for hours. He probably wants to go home. I should want to go home. Should make excuses and call a cab and get out before this got any more complicated. One story, I heard myself say instead. Leo's joy could have powered the Eastern Seaboard. His room was exactly what you'd expect from billionaire parents who didn't know how to connect with their kid. Every toy imaginable, bookshelves stuffed with classics, a bed shaped like a race car that probably cost more than my rent, and not a single personal touch. No drawings on the walls, no crayon marks, nothing that screamed, a child lives here and is loved. My chest ached. Leo climbed into bed, patting the space beside him. I sat, hyper-aware of Dominic and Julian standing in the doorway. Watching. This one, Leo thought, handing me a worn copy of Where the Wild Things Are. Classic choice, I said aloud for the alpha's benefit. I read slowly, partly because I wanted Leo to follow along, partly because both alphas had moved closer, one on each side of the bed, and their combined scents were making it hard to think. Cedar and smoke and winter, wrapping around me like a promise I couldn't keep. Leo's breathing evened out halfway through. His hand found mine under the blanket, squeezed once. Thank you for staying, he thought, already half asleep. Even though you're scared. How do you know I'm scared? Because I can feel it. But you stayed anyway. That's what brave is. Damn. When did 6-year-olds get so wise? I finished the story in a whisper. Leo was fully asleep now, his face peaceful in a way I suspected it hadn't been in a long time. We should go, Julian murmured. Let him rest. I started to pull my hand free. Leo's grip tightened in his sleep. He's not letting go, I said quietly. Stay. Dominic's voice was barely audible. Just until he's deep asleep. Please. I should say no. Should extract myself and run before this became something I couldn't walk away from. But Leo's hand was warm in mine, and both alphas were looking at me like I was something precious, something worth keeping. 5 minutes, I whispered. Julian sat on the edge of the bed, close enough that his thigh pressed against mine. Dominic stayed standing, but his hand came to rest on my shoulder. Gentle, grounding. We stayed like that, the four of us, quiet and together and perfect in a way that terrified me. Because perfect things never lasted, and I could already feel the cracks forming. Leo's breathing had gone deep and even. His hand was slack in mine now, lost to whatever dreams 6-year-olds had. Safe ones, I hoped. Better than the loneliness he'd been drowning in. I should pull away. Should extract myself from between these two alphas who were watching me like I was something breakable and precious at the same time. But Dominic's hand was still on my shoulder. Julian's thigh was still warm against mine, and for the first time in years, I'd let my mental walls drop completely. That was my first mistake. The thought hit me like a freight train. Not mine. Julian's. 3 weeks of surveillance, and we finally found him. Thank God. Leo needs this. I went rigid. Surveillance? More thoughts bled through. Dominic's this time, clinical and clear. The private investigator was worth every penny. A telepathic Omega, unregistered, no family ties. Perfect. We can't lose him now. No. No. We approached this wrong. Julian's thoughts continued, unaware I could hear every word. Should have been honest from the start. But if we'd told him we'd been looking for someone like him specifically, he would have run. At least this way, he thinks it's organic. Thinks Leo chose him naturally. The room tilted. My walls slammed back up so hard I saw stars. But the damage was done. The truth was already bleeding through my chest like a knife wound. They knew. They'd known what I was before the park. Before Leo. Before any of this. This wasn't fate. Wasn't coincidence. It was a setup. Ash? Dominic's hand tightened on my shoulder. You okay? Your scent just went sour. I pulled away from both of them. Carefully extracted my hand from Leo's. Stood on shaking legs. How long? My voice came out flat. Dead. How long what? Julian asked. But something in his expression shifted. Wariness creeping in. How long were you watching me before the park? The silence was deafening. Ash, Dominic started. How? Long. 3 weeks, Julian said quietly. He had the decency to look ashamed. We hired someone to find telepathic Omegas in the area. You were the only one. So you what? Stalked me? Learned my routine? Waited until I showed up at the park and then just happened to bring Leo there at the exact same time? It wasn't like that, Dominic said. Then what was it like? I was shaking now, rage and hurt and betrayal burning through me like acid. Because from where I'm standing, it looks like you manipulated a lonely Omega into caring about your kid so you could use his abilities. Did you even plan the fall? Was that part of the script too? No. Julian stood. Leo running after you was real. Everything after that was real. But everything before was a lie. I laughed, sharp, broken. God, I'm so stupid. I thought maybe this was real. That you actually saw me as something other than a tool to fix your broken family. You're not a tool, Dominic said. His voice had gone cold, defensive. And our family isn't broken. Your son thinks he's defective, and you don't even know basic sign language. You're the definition of broken. I grabbed my jacket from where Carmen had hung it. And I'm the idiot who almost let you use me to feel better about your guilt. We're not using you, Julian said. But he didn't move to stop me. Neither of them did. Right. You just researched me, tracked me, manipulated a chance meeting, all because you genuinely wanted to get to know me. I headed for the door. Tell me, well, what was the plan after I got attached? Were you going to offer me money? A contract? Room and board in exchange for being Leo's emotional support Omega? We were going to ask you to stay, Dominic said quietly. Not as an employee, as family. I stopped, turned. Family doesn't lie, doesn't manipulate, doesn't treat people like assets to acquire. We were desperate, Julian said. His composure was cracking. Our son was disappearing into himself, and we couldn't reach him. When we found out telepathic Omegas existed, that there was someone who might be able to connect with him, what were we supposed to do? Ignore it? Let Leo suffer because approaching you wasn't perfectly ethical? You could have been honest, the words ripped out of me. You could have found me and said, hey, why don't we have a deaf son who's telepathic and we think you might be able to help? I might have said yes, but instead you lied, made me think I was choosing this, made me think Leo chose me. He did choose you, Dominic said. That part was real. We brought him to parks all over Greenwich. He never approached anyone, never tried to communicate, but he felt your presence and something in him recognized something in you. That wasn't us. That was fate. Don't. My voice broke. Don't you dare try to make this romantic. You surveilled me like I was a target, researched me like a product. You probably know where I work, where I live, every place I go regularly. The guilt on their faces told me everything. Oh my God, I stumbled back. You know everything. And I know nothing about you except what everyone knows. The perfect billionaire couple, the tragic son, the carefully curated public image. What do you want to know? Julian asked. Ask us anything. We'll tell you the truth now. Now? Now that I've caught you, you'll be honest? I laughed again. It sounded hysterical even to me. Here's a question. Was any of this real? The touching? The scenting? The way you looked at me like I mattered? All of it, Dominic said. He moved toward me. I backed up. Ash, please, we made a mistake. A terrible one. But everything we felt, everything we feel, that's real. How am I supposed to believe anything you say? Tears were burning behind my eyes. I refused to let them fall. You've been lying since the second we met. Not about wanting you, Julian said desperately. Not about needing you. Not about... Don't say it. I held up a hand. Oh, don't you dare say you're falling for me. You don't fall for people you manipulate. Behind them, Leo stirred, his mental voice groggy and confused. Ash, why are you sad? I couldn't do this. Couldn't stay here and watch him wake up and realize what his parents had done. I'm sorry, I whispered, to Leo, not to them. I'm so sorry. Then I ran, down the stairs, past a startled Carmen, out the front door into cold night air that felt like knives in my lungs. I heard them calling after me, heard Leo's mental scream of confusion and fear. I kept running, because staying meant forgiving, and I wasn't ready to forgive. My lungs burned. The cold Connecticut air sliced through my thin jacket like I was wearing nothing at all. I made it to the end of their stupidly long driveway before my body reminded me I was not, in fact, an Olympic sprinter. I bent double, hands on my knees, gasping. Ash! Ash, please, come back! Leo's voice in my head was pure panic, shredding through my mental walls like they were paper. I can't, buddy. I'm sorry. Why? What happened? Did I do something wrong? God. Of course he'd think this was his fault. No, you didn't do anything wrong. Your dad's just... They lied to me. About what? How did I explain surveillance and manipulation to a 6-year-old? They knew about me before we met. They were looking for someone like me on purpose. Silence. Then, so, I almost laughed. Would have, if I could breathe properly. So it means they didn't actually want me. They wanted what I could do for you. That's dumb, Leo thought matter-of-factly. Everyone wants people for what they can do. Yes, dads wanted each other because they're both smart at business. Carmen wants to work here because they pay her. I wanted you because you could hear me. That's how it works. I straightened slowly, stared at the mansion behind me, lit up like a beacon against the dark. That's different. How? Because I didn't have an answer, not one that made sense. You're mad because you wanted them to want you just for being you, Leo continued, his mental voice eerily perceptive. But Ash, they do want you for being you. They just found you because of the telepathy thing first. Like when you find a book because of the cool cover, but then you love it because the story's good. When had I become the one getting life lessons from a first grader? It's not that simple. Yes, it is. You're just scared. I'm not scared. You are. I can feel it. You're scared they'll hurt you, or leave you, or decide you're not good enough. A pause like everyone else did. I froze. He could feel that. Could feel the years of being passed over, forgotten, treated like the weird kid who talked to himself. The college professors who'd stopped calling on me because I knew answers before they finished questions. The roommates who'd moved out after I accidentally responded to thoughts they hadn't said aloud. Yeah, Leo confirmed gently. I can feel all of it. And you know what? You're just as scared as me. Damn it, that's not fair. No, he agreed, but it's true. I turned back toward the mansion. Two figures stood in the doorway, backlit, waiting, not chasing, not demanding, just waiting. My walls were still up, but I could feel them anyway. The weight of their regret, the shape of their hope. Maybe they lied, manipulated the situation, treated me like a solution to a problem instead of a person. But Leo was right about one thing. I'd been lying too. I'd pretended I didn't care, pretended the connection didn't matter, pretended I could walk away clean when every cell in my body was screaming at me to stay. I'd been so focused on their deception that I'd ignored my own. You're coming back, Leo thought. Not a question, a certainty. I don't know. Yes, you do. You're just deciding if you're brave enough. When did you get so smart? I muttered aloud. I had a good teacher. He taught me that staying, even when you're scared, is what brave means. Oh, he was using my own words against me. I started walking back, slowly. Each step felt like I was walking towards something inevitable, something that would either save me or destroy me. Probably both. Dominic and Julian didn't move as I approached, didn't speak, just watched me with identical expressions of barely controlled hope. I stopped at the bottom of the steps, looked up at them. I'm not doing this for you, I said. My voice was steady, surprising, given how my hands were shaking. I'm doing this for him because he deserves better than parents who don't know how to love him, and an Omega who runs the second things get hard. Okay, Dominic said quietly, and I'm still furious. You don't get to manipulate someone and then act surprised when they're pissed about it. We know, Julian said. And if we do this, if I stay, it's on my terms. Complete honesty from here on out. No more secrets, no more surveillance, no more treating me like a project. Agreed, they said in unison. I climbed the steps, so stopped in front of them, close enough to touch but not touching. I need to know something, I said, and I need the truth, not what you think I want to hear. Anything, Dominic said. When you look at me, what do you see? A tool? A solution? Or an actual person you might want, even if I couldn't do a damn thing for Leo? The silence stretched. I braced for disappointment. I see someone who threw himself at concrete to save my son, Julian said finally. His voice was raw, honest. Someone who called us out on our failures when everyone else just praised us. Someone who made Leo laugh for the first time in months. Someone whose scent makes me want to build a nest and never leave it. I see someone brave, Dominic added. Someone who's been hurt and still chose kindness. Someone who reads minds but respects boundaries. Someone I want to know everything about, telepathy or not. I searched their faces, looking for lies, for manipulation, found only truth and want, and something that looked dangerously close to the beginning of love. This is a terrible idea, I whispered. Probably, Dominic agreed. We're going to screw this up, I said. Definitely, Julian said. I'm still mad at you, You should be. I stepped forward, into their space, into their sense, into the terrifying vulnerability of letting someone see you. One more chance, I said. You get one more chance to do this right, and if you waste it, I'm gone. For good. We won't waste it, Dominic promised. Julian's hand came up, hesitant, asking permission. I nodded. His palm cupped my cheek, warm, steady, real. Thank you, he murmured, for coming back. For giving us another shot, for being braver than we deserve. Don't thank me yet, I said. I'm going to make you work for this. Good, Dominic said. His hand joined Julian's, cradling my other cheek. We should have to work for it. You're worth the effort. Above us in a window, I felt Leo's presence, his joy like sunshine breaking through storm clouds. I knew you'd come back. Yeah, well, don't get used to it. I'm still a flight risk. No, you're not. You're exactly where you're supposed to be. Maybe he was right. Maybe for the first time in my life, I'd found somewhere I belonged, even if I was terrified of it. Come inside, Julian said softly. It's cold. It was. I hadn't noticed until now, too focused on the warmth radiating from both alphas bracketing me. But yeah, my fingers were numb and I could see my breath in the air. I let them guide me back inside. Carmen had disappeared, probably giving us privacy. Smart woman. Leo was sitting on the stairs, still in his pajamas, watching us with eyes that were too knowing for 6 years old. You stayed, he thought. Not surprised, just satisfied. I stayed, I confirmed. He grinned and signed something that I was pretty sure meant, I told you so. Brat, I said fondly. He gets that from Julian, Dominic said. Excuse me? Julian protested. He gets that from you. I'm never bratty. I'm strategically difficult. That's literally the same thing. I laughed. Couldn't help it. These two idiots were bickering like an old married couple while I stood between them trying to figure out how my life had turned into a romance novel in the span of 12 hours. You should laugh more, Dominic said. His thumb traced my cheekbone. It suits you. Yeah, well, haven't had much to laugh about lately. We'd like to change that, Julian said. If you'll let us. I looked between them, at Dominic with his winter frost eyes that had thawed just for me, at Julian with his copper gaze that saw too much and still wanted to look closer. I'm a mess, I said, honest, raw. I hear voices I can't control. I dropped out of college because being around that many minds gave me migraines. I work minimum wage at a coffee shop and live in a studio apartment that's smaller than your closet. And I don't fit in your world. Good, Dominic said. Our world is cold and empty and full of people who want things from us. You're warm, real. You fit exactly where we need you. In our family, Julian added. In our home. In our... He trailed off, but the word hung between us anyway. Pack. I'm not Pack, I whispered. I'm just an Omega who happened to be in the right park at the right time. No, Dominic said firmly. You're the Omega who saved our son, who called us out when we needed it, who came back even when we didn't deserve it. That's not coincidence. That's fate. I don't believe in fate. Neither did we, Julian said. Until today. Leo patted down the stairs, inserted himself between us and grabbed both my hand and Julian's, linking us together. Family, he thought simply. That's what this is. We don't even know each other, I protested weakly. Then let us learn, Dominic said. Stay. Not for a week. Not for Leo. For us. Let us prove we can be what you need. What if you can't? Then we'll fail knowing we tried everything. Julian's hand slid from my cheek to the back of my neck. Gentle. Possessive. But I don't think we will. Because Ash, when I look at you, I see home. That's the cheesiest thing I've ever heard, I said, but my voice broke on the last word. Truth often is, he said. Dominic leaned in, slow, giving me time to pull away. I didn't. His lips touched mine, soft, questioning, tasting like coffee and something darker, richer. Winter nights and promises. I kissed him back, let myself fall into it. into him. When we broke apart, Julian was waiting. His kiss was different. Fire where Dominic was frost, consuming and careful all at once. Gross, Leo thought cheerfully, but also nice. You smell happy now. I pulled back, breathless. We can't just... This doesn't fix everything. No, Dominic agreed, but it's a start. We'll go to therapy, Julian said. All of us. Family therapy. We'll learn sign language properly. We'll do whatever it takes to make this work. And if it doesn't, then at least we tried, Dominic said. Together. That word. Together. Like I wasn't alone anymore. Like maybe I'd never have to be alone again. I'm still mad about the surveillance thing, I said. You should be, they both said. And I'm keeping my apartment. For now. Until I'm sure this is real. Fair, Julian agreed. And Leo's education comes first. Always, before business. Before deals. Before anything. Agreed, Dominic said without hesitation. I looked at Leo, at his hopeful, happy face. What do you think, buddy? Should I stay? You already know the answer, he thought back. You felt it the moment we met. We're supposed to be together. All of us. Yeah, I had felt it. Under the fear and the walls and the terror of being hurt again. I'd felt it. Okay, I said, quiet, certain. Okay, we'll try this. But I swear to God, if you lie to me again... We won't, they said in unison. And you have to let me pay rent or something. I'm not a charity case. You can pay rent in terrible coffee shop stories and bad jokes, Julian said. And in helping us be better fathers, Dominic added. His scent wrapped around me. Cedar and smoke and winter. Home. That's worth more than money. Leo hugged my legs. In his mental voice, pure contentment. Finally. I have a family that's all here. I ran my fingers through his hair, looked at the two alphas who were watching me like I'd hung the moon. This is insane, I said. Completely, Julian agreed. We're going to screw this up so many times, I said. Undoubtedly, Dominic said. But we'll figure it out, I finished. Together. Together, they echoed. And for the first time in 23 years, I let myself believe it. Let myself believe I could be wanted, could be chosen, could be loved. Not despite being broken, but because all our broken pieces fit together perfectly. Leo pulled us toward the living room, already making plans in his head about games and stories and all the things we'd do tomorrow. Tomorrow. Like there would be 1,000 tomorrows after this one. Like I was finally home. Cedar and smoke and winter wrapped around me, and I stopped running.